Hey, welcome to Think Thursday from the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast. Think Thursday is all about your beautiful, brilliant human brain. We're talking neuroscience. We're talking behavior change. We are talking about your mindset. Are you ready to get started? Let's go. Well, hello and welcome to Think Thursday from the Alcohol Minimalist. Think Thursdays are all about your beautiful, brilliant human brain. We're talking neuroscience, we're talking mindset, we're talking brain health. And today we are really diving into a little neuroscience news that I just read about this week that I think is really interesting and, again, kind of reinforces some of the things that we've talked about on this podcast, on these Think Thursday episodes, and something that I also just mentioned earlier this week on the big podcast on Monday. And that is about how chronic stress physically changes the brain. And we are learning more and more over time about how dangerous chronic stress is. And so I really want you to listen to, and I'm going to in the show notes, I will list some of these episodes that we talked about on Think Thursday about chronic stress or about, burnout and things that that impact the physical structure of the brain. And on Monday, I talked about how the brain can be impacted by chronic stress, and it can actually shrink the gray matter area in the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex area, also the anterior cingulate cortex. These are areas in that prefrontal cortex that is responsible for logic and goal planning and the part that really I say all the time makes us human. Today, I'm going to talk about a study that was literally just published by UCLA that talks about how chronic stress may actually be impacting our memory and our hippocampus. That we often associate memory with the hippocampus, but we're actually talking about an even smaller area of the brain that does not react well under stress. And so I'll get into that a little bit later about what that area is called, but why these things are so important for the narrative that is your life, right? So obviously, we know how important it is to our life story, and also to how we learn, how we change our habits. All of it is intertwined with memory. And it's about how we stay present. It's about how we form meaning. And stress quietly hijacks our ability to grow and change. So that's kind of what we're talking about. And your brain actually has this little built-in reset button that helps organize memories, but chronic stress dulls that reset, and it makes it harder to focus, to remember, or even feel like you're experiencing your life clearly. So let's get into this. The basic idea that they talked about in this UCLA study that was literally just published this week in Neuroscience News is that you might think of life as one long flowing stream of experiences, but that's not how your brain records memory. It turns out that we remember life more like chapters in a book with beginnings, middles, and ends, and with what researchers call event boundaries. And the part of your brain that helps define those boundaries, it's this tiny little region in your brainstem called the locus coeruleus. Locus coeruleus. And this tiny little area that you've probably never heard of, I had never heard of, right? This part of your brain is really the arousal and attention system that researchers say is acting like a neural punctuation mark, literally telling your brain, this moment matters, save this one, it's meaningful. And in this new UCLA study, scientists used brain scans and eye tracking to show that this area lights up right at these transitions. And those subtle shifts in context, when we move from one experience to the next, these shifts help signal the hippocampus, which we know stores memories, that it's time to file things away separately. In other words, the locus coeruleus says, new event starting, take a snapshot now. But here's the kicker. Under chronic stress, the locus coeruleus gets the reset signal basically gets blunted. Your brain loses sensitivity to change. So instead of life feeling organized and looking at and being organized into events and memories, it starts to feel like one long, blurry scroll. And this can lead to disorientation, poor recall, trouble learning, and even a sense that time is passing without meaning. Burnout, right? Which is what we talked about, emotional burnout. We talked about that all on Monday. Researchers found that people with signs of chronic stress, and they measured this through neuromelanin buildup on the locus coeruleus. And P.S., the very fact that they can do these brain images, that they can get in and actually see what's happening in our brains, is really just so incredible. And it's really relatively new science. Again, our understanding of the brain just keeps expanding and expanding because our technologies and our ability to see these neural cells is and our neural organs is increasing over time. But it's really just incredible that they can do this, but they can. And when they looked for these signs of chronic stress, they realized that these people had weaker responses to event boundaries. Their brains weren't differentiating between experiences as clearly. So think about the implications of that. If your brain can't recognize meaningful moments, it can't remember them well. And when you can't remember clearly, you lose part of your narrative identity, your sense of who you are and what you've lived through. And this isn't just about memory, it's about how you experience life and how you form and maintain habits. When your brain can't recognize what matters, it defaults to what's familiar. And that's why chronic stress often pulls us back into old patterns. You're not lazy or you're unmotivated. Your brain is probably overwhelmed. And so it is clinging to the past. When a new healthy behavior doesn't feel as satisfying, or when you say, why am I even doing this? It might not be because you are lacking discipline. It might be your brain trying to find its footing again. You might be needing a break from stress. And here's how we can support your, better neural health, right? Better neural outcomes. We can actually create clearer event boundaries for ourselves, and we can pay mindful attention to that. We can lower background stress. We've got to work on chronic stress. We can practice intentional attention shifts. This helps our brain as well. And we can find small restorative actions that bring structure and coherence back to our lives. These are some ideas that I would suggest starting today. Number one, support event segmentation. Now, what does that mean? Give your brain natural breaks in your day. Change rooms, take walks, switch playlists. Physical and sensory shifts help mark transitions. And again, these are all in the way. This is just ideas to support overall brain health. Because when we have a healthy brain, we are bound to have a happier brain and a better, higher performing brain, which helps us be better humans all the way around, right? But certainly helps with behavior change. No two ways about it. Number two, quiet the noise. Stress builds when everything blends together. So use slow breathing. We've talked about the importance of deep breathing. Use single tasking. Do not multitask. or even a simple stress ball, that kind of those squishy balls, right? Give your neuro system a clear signal that this moment is safe. We really got to work on maintaining and lowering our overall stress. Another idea would be add meaning with micro reflection. This is a great idea. Pause at the end of the day to ask, what stood out today? Naming one event helps anchor the memory and gives the hippocampus a helpful assist. And number four, just don't ignore early signs. When life feels like a blur, that's not just fatigue. It's probably your brain asking for a chance to reset. You want to heed that signal. You want to give your brain, your body, a chance to reset and to dissipate from any type of stress situations or chronic stress that you're experiencing. The big takeaway here is that if you felt forgetful, flat, or detached, it doesn't mean that, your brain is broken permanently. It means that your locus coeruleus, your brain's little memory conductor, might be a bit overwhelmed. With small, thoughtful changes, pauses, transitions, meaningful reflection, you can help your brain relearn and reset itself and begin again to segment, store, and savor life. This matters not just for memory, but for clarity, for motivation, and for your peace of mind. Your habits matter, your attention matters, and your brain is always listening. I hope you enjoyed learning about your locus coeruleus and the fabulous, beautiful, brilliant human brain that you have. Here's the thing. We've all got these beautiful, brilliant human brains, and we get to use them to figure out how to live our very best lives. And that's really what Think Thursdays are all about. I appreciate you being here with me, listening and learning about your beautiful, brilliant human brain. That's all I have for you this week, and I will see you on Monday.